My sister-in-law accused me of cheating at my baby shower, so husband threw me out in front of everyone, but when paternity results came back, they showed she was actually describing her own affair. I'm 27 years old, 8 months pregnant, and I honestly don't know how my life got turned upside down so fast. 3 weeks ago, I was planning the perfect baby shower for my first child. Today, I'm sitting in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house, trying to piece together how everything went so wrong so quickly. I need to tell someone what happened because I feel like I'm losing my mind, and maybe getting this out will help me figure out what to do next. My husband Jake and I have been together for 5 years, married for 3. We live in a quiet suburb outside Detroit, and up until recently, I thought we had the perfect life. I'm a third-grade teacher, he works in IT, and we've been trying to have a baby for over a year. When we finally got pregnant, we were over the moon. Jake was so excited he started buying baby clothes the day we found out, even though I told him it was too early. The problem started with my sister-in-law, Lisa. She's Jake's older sister, 32, married to a guy named David for about 6 years. Lisa has always been difficult. She's one of those people who has to be the center of attention in every room, and she's never really liked me. I think she resented that Jake got married and wasn't as available to her anymore. She had this way of making little comments that seemed innocent but always left me feeling bad about myself. When we announced the pregnancy, Lisa's reaction was weird. Instead of congratulating us, she started asking pointed questions about the timing, whether we were sure about everything, and if Jake was really ready to be a father. At the time, I brushed it off as her being her usual difficult self, but looking back, I should have seen the red flags. The baby shower was supposed to be a small gathering at our house. My mom, Jake's mom, a few close friends, and Lisa. I had spent weeks planning everything perfectly. I made all the decorations by hand, ordered a beautiful cake, and even created a playlist of music that wasn't too loud but would keep everyone entertained. I was so excited to celebrate our little girl with the people we loved most. Everything started normally. People were arriving, admiring the decorations, and chatting about baby names and nursery themes. I was wearing this beautiful maternity dress that my mom had bought for me, and I felt radiant despite being huge and uncomfortable. Jake was being the perfect host, making sure everyone had drinks and snacks, and he kept coming over to rub my back or check if I needed anything. About an hour into the shower, we were in the middle of opening gifts when Lisa suddenly stood up. She had been quiet most of the afternoon, which was unusual for her, but I figured she was just having an off day. She was holding a glass of wine and had this strange expression on her face that I couldn't read. "I need to say something," she announced loudly, cutting off my friend Sarah who was explaining the gift she'd brought. The room went quiet, and everyone turned to look at her. I remember feeling a knot form in my stomach because something about her tone was off. "What is it, Lisa?" Jake asked, looking as confused as everyone else. Lisa looked directly at me, and her eyes were cold in a way I'd never seen before. I can't sit here and pretend everything is fine when I know what I know. My heart started racing. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about your affair," she said, her voice getting louder. "I'm talking about how you've been sneaking around behind my brother's back, and now you're trying to pass off another man's baby as his." The room went dead silent. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. "Lisa, what are you saying? That's not true." But she wasn't done. She started pacing around the living room, gesturing wildly with her wine glass. "Oh, it's not true? So you're going to tell me you haven't been meeting someone at that coffee shop on Maple Street every Thursday afternoon? You're going to tell me you haven't been texting someone constantly, hiding your phone from Jake?" I was in complete shock. "Lisa, I don't know what you think you saw, but I saw you," she screamed. "I saw you with him. Tall guy, dark hair, drives a black Honda. You were laughing and touching his arm, and then you went to his car with him. Don't you dare try to deny it." Everyone was staring at me now. My mom looked horrified, Jake's mom had her hand over her mouth, and my friends were exchanging glances like they didn't know what to do. But the worst part was Jake's face. He was looking at me like he didn't recognize me, and I could see doubt creeping into his eyes. "Jake, you know this isn't true," I said, reaching for his hand. "You know I would never," but Lisa kept going. "And the texts. Oh my God, the texts. All those messages about how much you miss him, how you can't wait to see him again, how you wish things were different. I saw them, Jake. I saw everything." "You went through my phone?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I didn't have to. You left it open on the kitchen counter last week when you went to the bathroom at Mom's house. The messages were right there." Jake was backing away from me now, and I could see the anger building in his face. "Is this true?" he asked quietly. "No." I practically screamed. "Jake, you know me. You know I would never do this to you, to us, to our baby." But Lisa wasn't finished destroying my life. "The baby might not even be his, Jake. Think about the timing. Think about how distant she's been lately, how secretive she's become. That's when Jake exploded. "Get out," he said, his voice cold and deadly quiet. "Jake, please, get out," he yelled, loud enough that I'm sure the neighbors heard. "I can't even look at you right now. Get out of my house." I was sobbing now, my whole body shaking. "This is my house too. Jake, please, just listen to me." "Not anymore, it's not," he said. "I want you gone. Now." My mom stood up, her face pale. "Jake, maybe we should all calm down and—" "Mrs. Peterson, I'm sorry you had to see this," Jake said to my mom, "but I need everyone to leave. Now." The next few minutes were a blur of people gathering their things and filing out of my house in awkward silence. My mom helped me to her car because I was crying so hard I could barely walk. As we drove away, I could see Jake standing in the doorway, watching us leave, and I knew my life as I knew it was over. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Jake has refused to speak to me directly. All communication has gone through lawyers. He filed for separation, changed the locks on our house, and told everyone in his family his version of what happened. I've been staying with my parents, trying to figure out how to rebuild my life as a single mother. But here's where it gets really messed up. 2 days ago, I got a call from Jake's mom, crying hysterically. Apparently, David, Lisa's husband, had found some messages on Lisa's phone and confronted her. It turns out that everything Lisa accused me of at the baby shower, she was actually doing herself. She had been having an affair for months with a coworker. Tall guy, dark hair, drives a black Honda. They had been meeting at the coffee shop on Maple Street every Thursday. She had been texting him constantly, telling him how much she missed him and wished things were different. When David confronted her with the evidence, she broke down and confessed everything. But the most twisted part? She told David that she had projected her own guilt onto me because she couldn't handle the shame of what she was doing. She said seeing me so happy and pregnant made her realize how much she was throwing away, and she snapped. She admitted that she had never seen me with anyone, never saw any texts, never had any evidence of an affair. She made it all up. Jake's mom begged me to call him, to tell him what she'd learned, but I'm not sure I want to. The fact that he believed Lisa so easily, that he threw me out without even giving me a chance to defend myself, has broken something in me that I don't know if I can fix. Yes, Lisa lied, but Jake chose to believe her lies over trusting his wife of 3 years. I'm due in less than a month, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Part of me wants to make Jake grovel for forgiveness, to make him understand how much he hurt me. But another part of me wonders if our marriage was really as strong as I thought if he could throw it away so easily. So Reddit, what would you do? Should I reach out to Jake and try to work things out for the sake of our baby? Or am I right to feel like his lack of trust in me is unforgivable? Am I wrong for wanting him to make the first move toward reconciliation? Update 1. I want to thank everyone for the overwhelming support and advice on my original post. Reading through your comments has been both heartbreaking and validating, and I appreciate everyone who took the time to share their thoughts. A lot has happened in the past 4 days since I posted, and I felt like I owed you all an update. First, Jake did reach out. He called me yesterday morning, and I almost didn't answer. When I finally picked up, he was crying. I've only heard Jake cry twice in the 5 years we've been together, so I knew something major had happened. He told me that his mom had filled him in on everything Lisa had confessed, and he said he was sorry. But honestly, his apology felt hollow. He kept saying things like I was just so shocked and Lisa was so convincing instead of taking real responsibility for not trusting me. What really got to me was when he said, "You have to understand," the way she described everything was so detailed. How was I supposed to know she was lying? I told him that maybe he was supposed to know because he's my husband and should have trusted me enough to at least ask for my side of the story before throwing me out like garbage. He got quiet after that, and then asked if he could come see me. I told him I needed more time to think. He started getting agitated and said we needed to work this out before the baby comes, that our daughter deserves to have both her parents together. I told him that our daughter deserves parents who trust and respect each other, and right now, I'm not sure we have that. After I hung up, I realized how angry I still am. Not just about the accusation, but about how he handled everything. He didn't just believe Lisa over me, he humiliated me in front of our family and friends. He threw me out when I was 8 months pregnant without even letting me explain. He changed the locks on our house and filed for separation. Those aren't the actions of someone who had a momentary lapse in judgment. Those are the actions of someone who wanted an excuse to get rid of me. The more I think about it, the more I wonder if Jake had been looking for a way out of our marriage and Lisa just gave him the perfect excuse. We had been trying to get pregnant for over a year, and I know the pressure was getting to both of us. Maybe when Lisa made her accusations, some part of him was relieved to have a reason to walk away. But the story gets even more twisted. Yesterday afternoon, I got an unexpected visitor. Lisa showed up at my parents' house, looking like she hadn't slept in days. My dad answered the door and told her I didn't want to see her, but I heard her voice and decided to face her. I figured she owed me an explanation. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, she wasn't wearing makeup, and she had this desperate look in her eyes. She started apologizing immediately, saying she was sorry, that she never meant for things to go so far. I let her talk for a few minutes, and then I asked her the question that had been eating at me. Why me, Lisa? Why did you decide to destroy my life to cover up your own mess? She broke down crying and said something that chilled me to the bone. She said she had been planning to confess her affair to David that weekend, but when she saw me at the baby shower, looking so happy and content, she couldn't handle the contrast. She said I had everything she wanted, a loving husband, a baby on the way, a perfect life, and she hated me for it. She admitted that she had been jealous of my relationship with Jake for years. She said that before I came along, Jake used to confide in her about everything, and she felt like I had stolen her brother from her. When she started her affair, she said she kept thinking about how perfect my life looked from the outside, and it made her feel even worse about what she was doing. The baby shower was supposed to be her last day of lying to David. She had planned to tell him everything that evening. But seeing me surrounded by love and support, opening gifts for my baby, made her snap. She said she couldn't bear the thought of confessing while I got to stay in my perfect bubble. So she decided to pop my bubble instead. I asked her how she could be so cruel, especially to someone who was pregnant. She said she wasn't thinking clearly, that she was just desperate to make someone else feel as awful as she did. She said the details she used in her accusation were all from her own affair because she couldn't think of anything else in the moment. The most disgusting part was when she said she thought that if my marriage fell apart, it would somehow make her own situation easier to bear. Like my pain would lessen hers. I told her to leave and never contact me again. I said that her explanation didn't change anything, that she had destroyed my family for purely selfish reasons, and that I would never forgive her. She begged me to call Jake, to help fix what she had broken, but I told her that wasn't my responsibility. After she left, I called David. I felt like he deserved to know what kind of person he was married to. We talked for about an hour, and he told me he had filed for divorce the day after Lisa confessed. He said he couldn't get past the fact that she had been willing to destroy an innocent family to cover up her own crimes. He also told me something that Jake apparently didn't mention in his phone call. David said that when the truth came out, Jake's first reaction wasn't remorse about doubting me. It was anger at Lisa for lying to him. David said Jake was more upset about being deceived than about what he had done to me. That really sealed it for me. Even finding out the truth, Jake's priority was his own feelings, not the pain he had caused me. So where does that leave me? I'm 36 weeks pregnant, living with my parents, and facing the reality that my marriage is probably over. Not because of Lisa's lies, but because of Jake's reaction to them. I think I could have forgiven him for a moment of doubt, but I can't forgive him for how quickly and completely he abandoned me. I've decided that I'm not going to reach out to Jake. If he wants to be part of his daughter's life, he's going to have to prove that he's changed, not just say he's sorry. He's going to have to show me that he can be the kind of partner who supports me during difficult times instead of throwing me away at the first sign of trouble. Some of you asked about getting a paternity test. I've decided that I will get one, not because I have any doubt about who the father is, but because I want Jake to see the results in black and white. I want him to confront the fact that he destroyed our marriage over lies that he chose to believe without any evidence. I've also started seeing a therapist to help me process everything that's happened. She's helping me understand that this situation revealed something fundamental about my relationship with Jake that I had been ignoring. She said that healthy relationships are built on a foundation of trust, and when that trust is broken so easily, it's usually a sign of deeper problems. For now, I'm focusing on preparing for my daughter's arrival and building a support system that doesn't include Jake. My parents have been amazing, and my friends have rallied around me in ways that have made me realize I'm stronger than I thought. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and I'm writing this from the hospital. My daughter, Emma, was born 3 days ago, 2 weeks early but perfectly healthy. She's beautiful, 6 pounds 8 ounces, with dark hair like mine and the tiniest little fingers I've ever seen. Holding her for the first time was the most incredible and heartbreaking moment of my life, because I realized that no matter what happens with Jake, she and I are going to be okay. But I need to tell you about what happened during labor, because it was both the worst and best thing that could have happened. I went into labor at 2 a.m. on Tuesday. My water broke while I was sleeping at my parents' house, and the contractions started immediately. My mom drove me to the hospital while my dad called my doctor. I had specifically requested that the hospital not contact Jake unless it was a life or death emergency, but apparently someone in the maternity ward didn't get that memo. About 4 hours into labor, when I was already exhausted and in more pain than I'd ever experienced, Jake showed up. I was in the middle of a contraction when I heard his voice in the hallway, arguing with a nurse about being allowed into my room. My mom went out to deal with him, and I could hear her telling him that I didn't want him there. But Jake being Jake, he didn't listen. He pushed past my mom and walked into my delivery room like he had every right to be there. I was so shocked and angry that I actually stopped pushing during my next contraction, which made the doctor concerned. "What are you doing here?" I managed to gasp out between breaths. "I'm here for the birth of my daughter," he said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "You lost the right to be here when you threw me out," I told him. Gap. But instead of leaving, he started talking about how sorry he was, how he wanted to be there for me, how we needed to work things out for Emma's sake. He was saying all of this while I was in active labor, trying to deliver our baby, and I couldn't believe his timing. My doctor, who is an absolute angel, told Jake that he needed to leave immediately because he was causing me stress, which wasn't good for the baby. Jake started arguing with the doctor, saying he had rights as the father, and that's when I lost it. "You want to talk about rights?" I screamed at him between contractions. "You had the right to trust your wife. You had the right to give me a chance to defend myself. You had the right to support me instead of humiliating me. But you gave up all those rights when you chose to believe your lying sister over me." The doctor called security, and Jake was escorted out. But the damage was done. His appearance had thrown me into such emotional turmoil that my labor stalled for the next 3 hours. My blood pressure spiked, and the doctors started talking about a C-section. Thankfully, I was able to deliver naturally, but it was touch and go for a while. Emma was born at 6:47 p.m., and the moment I held her, everything else faded away. She was perfect, absolutely perfect, and I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, I would do anything to protect her from the kind of pain her father had caused me. Jake tried to come back to the hospital the next day, but I had already spoken to hospital security and the nurses. They had strict instructions not to let him into my room or near Emma without my permission. He sent flowers and a card apologizing for showing up during labor, but I threw them away without reading the card. My mom told me that Jake's parents came to see Emma yesterday, and Jake's mom was crying the entire time. She kept apologizing for Lisa's behavior and begging me to give Jake another chance. She said Jake was devastated and had been drinking heavily since the truth came out. Part of me felt bad for him, but a bigger part of me thought that maybe he was finally understanding the consequences of his actions. But here's the thing that really bothers me. Everyone keeps talking about how sorry Jake is, how much he regrets what happened, how he wants to make things right. But not once has anyone mentioned him taking actual responsibility for his choices. He's sorry he got caught up in Lisa's lies, sorry things went so far, sorry I got hurt. But I haven't heard anyone say he's sorry for not trusting me, sorry for humiliating me in front of our family, sorry for abandoning me when I needed him most. The paternity test results came back yesterday, confirming what I already knew, that Emma is 100% Jake's daughter. I had the results sent to Jake's lawyer along with a note that said, "This is the proof you should have never needed." I haven't heard back from him yet, but I'm sure I will. I've been thinking a lot about what I want for Emma's future. I don't want her to grow up in a home where her parents resent each other, but I also don't want her to think it's okay for people to treat the ones they love the way Jake treated me. I want her to know that love means trust, support, and believing in someone even when things look bad. Right now, I'm focused on healing, both physically and emotionally, and on bonding with my daughter. I've started the process of legally establishing custody and support arrangements through my lawyer. I'm not trying to keep Jake from Emma, but I'm also not going to pretend that our relationship can go back to the way it was. Some people might think I'm being too hard on Jake, that I should forgive him for Emma's sake. But I think the best thing I can do for Emma is show her what it looks like when someone has enough self-respect to not accept being treated poorly, even by someone they love. I'll post another update if anything significant happens, but for now, I'm just taking things one day at a time and enjoying being Emma's mom. Thank you all for your continued support and advice. You've helped me stay strong when I felt like falling apart. Update 3. I'm writing this update from my new apartment, with Emma sleeping peacefully in her crib next to me. It's been 6 weeks since she was born, and a lot has happened that I need to share with you all. First, Jake did eventually respond to the paternity test results, but not in the way I expected. Instead of calling or sending a personal message, he had his lawyer send a formal request for visitation rights and a proposal for joint custody. No personal apology, no acknowledgement of the pain he caused, just legal paperwork treating our daughter like a business transaction. That told me everything I needed to know about where his priorities were. But the real bombshell came 2 weeks ago. I got a call from David, Lisa's soon-to-be ex-husband, with information that changed everything. He had been going through Lisa's phone and computer as part of their divorce proceedings, and he found something that made my blood run cold. Lisa had been planning her accusation against me for weeks before the baby shower. David found search histories on her computer where she had been researching the coffee shop on Maple Street, looking up the hours, even checking to see if they had security cameras. She had been deliberately gathering details about her own affair specifically to use against me. This wasn't a spontaneous breakdown at my baby shower, It was a calculated attack. Even worse, David found text messages between Lisa and one of her friends where she explicitly talked about her plan to take that smug witch down a peg before she had to face her own consequences. She had written things like, "If I'm going down, I'm taking her perfect little life with me and Jake always believes me over her anyway, this should be easy." The most chilling part was a message she sent to her friend the morning of my baby shower, "Today's the day. By tonight, she'll know what it feels like to lose everything." David sent me screenshots of everything, and I immediately forwarded them to my lawyer. We're now pursuing harassment and defamation charges against Lisa. But more importantly, David thought Jake should see exactly how premeditated and malicious his sister's actions were. David called Jake himself and laid out everything he had found. According to David, Jake was shocked by the evidence of how calculated Lisa's lies had been. But David said something that really stuck with me. He told Jake, "The worst part isn't that Lisa lied. The worst part is that you were so ready to believe her that you didn't even question it." David said Jake got defensive and tried to justify his reaction, but David wasn't having it. David told him, "I believed Lisa's lies about herself for months because she's my wife and I trusted her. But you believed her lies about your own wife in 5 minutes without any proof. That says everything about your marriage." After David told Jake everything, Jake finally called me directly. It was the first time we had spoken since Emma's birth, and I could tell he was shaken. He said he needed to see me, that we needed to talk in person about everything that had happened. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a neutral location, a cafe near my new apartment. I brought Emma with me because I'm breastfeeding and didn't want to be away from her for long. Seeing Jake hold Emma for the first time was heartbreaking. He cried the moment I placed her in his arms, and I could see how much he had missed by not being there for her first weeks of life. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. But then he started talking, and I remembered why I couldn't forgive him. He apologized again, but it was the same surface-level apology he had been giving. He was sorry things had gotten so out of hand, sorry Lisa had lied, sorry I had been hurt. But when I pressed him on why he had been so quick to believe Lisa over me, he got defensive. "You have to understand," he said, "Lisa was so convincing. She had details, she seemed so sure. And honestly, you had been acting a little distant lately." I asked him what he meant by distant, and he said that in the weeks leading up to the baby shower, I had seemed stressed and preoccupied. I reminded him that I was 8 months pregnant, uncomfortable, anxious about becoming a first-time mother, and dealing with Lisa's increasingly hostile behavior toward me. "So my normal pregnancy stress was evidence that I was cheating?" I asked. He backpedaled, saying that wasn't what he meant, but I could see that part of him still thought his reaction was justified. He kept saying he was sorry, but he couldn't acknowledge that his willingness to believe Lisa revealed something fundamental about our relationship. I told him about David's discovery, about how premeditated Lisa's attack had been. I showed him the screenshots of her messages planning to destroy my life. His face went white as he read them, and I could see the reality of what his sister had done finally hitting him. "I can't believe she planned all of this," he said. "But you can believe that I would cheat on you while pregnant with your child?" I asked. He was quiet for a long time, just holding Emma and staring at her tiny face. Finally, he said, "I don't know how to fix this." "You can't," I told him. "Some things can't be fixed, Jake. Some things can only be learned from." We talked for another hour about custody arrangements and co-parenting. Jake wants to be part of Emma's life, and I'm not going to prevent that. But I made it clear that our romantic relationship is over. The trust that held our marriage together is gone, and I don't believe it can be rebuilt. The hardest part was when he asked if there was anything he could do to prove he had changed, to show me that he could be the husband I deserved. I told him that if he had to ask that question, he still didn't understand what he had done wrong. A healthy relationship doesn't survive because someone proves they've changed after destroying everything. It survives because both people trust and support each other when things get difficult. As for Lisa, karma seems to be catching up with her. David told me that she lost her job when word of her affair got out to her coworkers. Her affair partner wanted nothing to do with her once she was exposed, and she's facing significant financial consequences in her divorce. The harassment charges I'm pursuing could result in additional legal problems for her. But honestly, I don't take any satisfaction in her downfall. I'm just relieved that she can't hurt anyone else the way she hurt me. I'm doing well now. Emma is healthy and growing fast, and I'm adjusting to life as a single mother. My parents have been incredibly supportive, and I've built a strong network of friends who have been there for me throughout this ordeal. I'm planning to go back to teaching in the fall, and I've found an excellent daycare near my school. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes I look at Emma and feel sad that she won't grow up with her parents together. But then I remember that she's going to grow up with a mother who values herself enough not to accept being treated poorly, and maybe that's a better lesson than staying in a broken marriage for the sake of appearances. I hope this is my final update, but thank you all for following my story and offering support when I needed it most. Your comments helped me stay strong when I wanted to give in and go back to a situation that wasn't healthy for me or my daughter. For anyone going through something similar, trust your instincts. If someone shows you who they are when things get tough, believe them. You and your children deserve better than someone who abandons you when you need them most.